$340 upfront for a Chapter 13. You can be on your way to being debt-free. Contact Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling today or visit our website at mcdebtfree.com. We are here to help you.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 5.
Welcome into Mississippi Live Weather 5. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. On this Monday, we are looking at a more active pattern, I think, this week than last week. That means storms are back. That could include some strong to severe thunderstorms, though that threat is much more focused for locations back out on the plains. Our severe weather risk for tomorrow, for Tuesday, does include about 2/3 of the area under this level 1 out of 5 severe weather risk. Certainly it is greatest back out into Arkansas and certainly out on the plains. They have level 4 out of 5 risk out there for this evening. So let's start again with what we're expecting. I think we could see perhaps a couple of strong wind gusts, perhaps a few large hailstones out of this on our True Shield Roofing large hail risk. But what we do not show on those threats for tomorrow is a tornado risk. That is not what we will contend with out of this storm system. Not quite enough fuel and certainly not enough strong winds aloft. I think we might have enough fuel close to the surface, but not enough to get those storms organized to rotate as they move toward us. More on, again, timing and expectations here in a minute with our futurecast. And the next couple of days are staying warm to hot, as we're going to have 90s out there for a lot of spots for high temperatures for tomorrow, one of our hottest days going forward. Certainly we were one of the hottest days so far in 2026 for today. Storms on Tuesday will cool us off in some locations, and we have a front that's moving in that will continue to bring at least some rain chances into a good chunk of this week and into the upcoming weekend, potentially in some locations. So the forecast goes a lot more rainy. Tonight, though, not expecting much. As you can see there, we're only 10% on that rain coverage at 6 toward around 9 p.m. Looking at 75 and dry by midnight as well as into the overnight time period. But again, the headline, I think, for tonight, most of us, we're not going to see anything super heavy tonight. And the storm chances tomorrow, still some questions revolving around those. We're 90, though, right now in West Point. It is fairly toasty. Looking at that feels like temperature there for what it feels like only adding 1 degree with that dew point coming in the mid-60s. As that comes up a little bit more for tomorrow, that means a little more fuel for thunderstorms to work off of there in Clay County. I expect more limited than, say, Batesville, where you're more likely to see a few thunderstorms tomorrow. Adding a couple more degrees to that temperature. 86 the temperature in Batesville. Feels like 90, so the stickiness factor coming up a little bit. Those puffy cumulus clouds, fairly high-based. One of those signs that if we were to see something, again, you have to get that base close to the ground for it to produce tornadoes, things like that. That is not what we are going to contend with us. This is we are looking pretty dry. Looking at Mama Justice Doppler radar, only a single storm out there, or at least a couple we're looking at closer to Shelby, back out in the Delta. For most of us, it is clear and it is dry at this time. We go wider here to show where that is not the case, and that's where kind of our next storm system is right now. Pretty active for locations on the plains. Those blue boxes there represent tornado watches out that direction at this time. Already had a few tornado touchdowns, including at least one strong tornado, a lot more wind, a lot of hail out of this storm system. Has been the case the last couple of days, but not for us here across the Magnolia State. So for comparison purposes, let's kind of show the severe weather risk there and how things kind of play out for us. So severe weather risk, again, on the plains, a level 4 out of 5, back out for some sections of Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, and Nebraska there, where, again, tornadoes are likely, as well as strong tornadoes. We start showing EF3 or stronger on the tornado risk there. So that means, again, significant severe weather. Compare that for us tomorrow, where we have a level 2 out of 5 severe weather risk that does encompass the northwest portion of the state. But there is no tornado risk for tomorrow that we can speak of for our area. There is a limited wind risk there that could include some damaging wind gusts, but just for comparison, as well as looking at that hail as we talked about a minute ago, it is possible to see those things, but not as highly likely as locations back to the west of us. So looking at futurecast for tonight, a few isolated showers and thunderstorms out into Alabama. I think very near the Mississippi River, we're going to have a chance for a few of these trying to pop up. We'll look a little closer at Mama Justice Doppler radar here in a couple moments related to that, but not expecting much out there for tonight as those showers whittle away by, let's say, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe a rogue sprinkle. I think most of the light greens you see on here for early tomorrow, a sign of, again, moisture returning from the Gulf ahead of this next system, which will still be ongoing with storms back out there in Oklahoma and Missouri, heading toward us along that front as we head into your Tuesday. But starting the day dry, I think it's in the afternoon storm chances and evening that they become more likely. So because we wait till that late in the day, those southerly winds continuing to bring up a little bit more warmth. Will be 90 degrees for the high by tomorrow afternoon after starting off around 71, somewhere around the 70-degree point, maybe upper 60s out there, begin the day. Rain coverage, 20% at noon, a lot more likely by 5, 6, 7 p.m. But even those storms become more likely into the evening, the expectation is that they should progressively become weaker the farther east that they move. Now, coming up here in 60 seconds, we'll explain that looking at your future cast and timeout hour by hour as the storm batch moves in. We're going to look at fuel for the thunderstorms, why that could be a limiting factor for some of us on how strong they are. And we've got your forecast for high school baseball state championship. That action starts tomorrow. We've got your forecast as Mississippi Live Weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center in 60 seconds.
How do you know if your roofer is actually telling you the truth or just trying to sell you something you don't need? I'm Chris with Absolute Restoration. When we come out, we don't tell you what's wrong. We show you with photos, videos, and documentation. You'll see exactly what we see so you can make your own decision. And we back our work with a 50-year warranty and a 25-year algae warranty. Plus, no cost upgrades with 0% financing and no payment for 6 months.
Room to Room's Memorial Day sale is here. No tax, 36-month special financing, and don't miss our red hot doorbusters. Bedroom sets starting at $9.99, sofas starting at $6.99. Hurry in, the sale won't last long, only at Room to Room Tupelo.
For the first time anywhere, a digital-only weather source has been nominated for not one, but 2 Emmy Awards. This is the 25th nomination I've been humbled to receive over the years, and while accolades are great, we're just proud to deliver the weather coverage that you deserve. Thank you, North Mississippi, for supporting us here at Mississippi Live.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lovehon.
Welcome back to Mississippi Live at 5. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. Thank you for watching us on all the different platforms there and for supporting us here as we check out our latest scans on Mama Justice Doppler radar. Not a ton of activity out there. A few showers down here closer to Decatur and Newton. It's kind of put this into motion, looping this over the course of the last hour or so. A few of these trying to spread northward. What we probably have here is an outflow kind of coming in from the Gulf. That sometimes happens this time of year. One of those signs where you know that we're kind of working our way toward more of a sort of summer-like pattern. See how there's just kind of this boundary. We have these kind of convergence areas bringing these showers farther north. So maybe all the way far north is here, Philadelphia, possibly Kosciuszko or Macon, but not expecting a whole lot out of that to make it much farther north than that. As we slide up north and west here, do have a couple of showers like this one near Gunnison and Shelby there, kind of lifting out into Arkansas. As bring it over and check out our camera there in the Shelby area. It looks dark and kind of dreary at this point. You can see the rainfall there, kind of left-hand part of the screen. 88 degrees current temperature there. Feels like 93 on a fairly breezy southerly wind. That's the only thing saving us from it feeling a lot more hot and humid for some other spots out there. And in comparison, out in Aberdeen, completely different story. We are 90, feels like 93. Still have those strong southerly winds, but the clear sky is the dominant factor there in Monroe County this evening. Looking out in Tupelo, it's a pretty similar picture there. All our clouds fairly flat, 88 degrees on our Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling camera as of the 5:08 time period. Hey, good evening to all of you guys out there, and thank you again so much for supporting us here on Mississippi Live, and thank you to all of our sponsors, as well as the North Mississippi Storm Chasers that are well beyond North Mississippi today out there in Kansas. Possibly hear from them a little bit later on what they have been seeing, but outside of the few spots we looked at, we are clear on Mama Justice Doppler this evening. And hoping to keep it clear down there for Pearl for the high school baseball championships, again, presented by Casey Lott. We appreciate all the folks there, again, for sending in your videos today. We had some videos of folks as they were leaving, and we'll again feature those on our Facebook page in the next couple days. Send us your celebration videos if you're lucky enough to win. But Moorville kicking things off for us tomorrow morning there in Pearl. 81 first pitch temperature, 87 by the time Saltillo has their first pitch at 1 p.m. Pontotoc, a slightly greater chance to have a couple of showers in the afternoon for tomorrow, 88 degrees, and we're hoping to keep it dry for the folks down there in Pearl. And then Oxford, Into the evening, rain chances a little bit greater. Again, that line of storms moving toward us, one of the factors that could produce a better chance for rainfall. I would say, especially by the latter part of that game, the chance increasing a bit more. Your school day forecast starting to run out of these as well. What, 4 days left, including tomorrow on our IMPC school day forecast? And we will transition this to a pool day forecast in the upcoming weeks. Gabe's working on a good picture and get set up for that we'll be using as well. A 72 drop-off temperature for tomorrow morning, though. We're 84 by lunch and 89 degrees by the final bell. Rain chances increasing into the afternoon, mainly after kids get back from school. Here's a look at Futurecast. And for this evening, we show a couple little showers out there closer to Clarksdale, back out toward Forest City, Arkansas. And again, maybe those sprinkles trying to come up from the south, but not really showing much out there. Futurecast then mainly dry by 9, 10 o'clock. As we just have some clouds across North Mississippi. The much more active pattern is with our front. The front that will bring us much cooler temperatures. Well, that's not true. A little bit cooler temperatures, and it will bring us better chances for rainfall as it stalls out. That's really the main story with it. Believe it or not, behind this, I was looking up there in Kansas. They had 40s. That will not make it here. That all runs out way before it gets here. But the plenty of thunderstorms there are going to be driving. Still severe weather for locations back out in Missouri with this overnight. And that's important because that just continues to shove its way down toward us throughout the overnight hours and into early tomorrow morning. But I think it'll be tomorrow afternoon before it gets all the way in here. So low temperatures expected to be on Tuesday around 76 degrees in Tunica and 74 in Senatobia. Look how there's just higher low temperatures. It makes sense. It's warmer back in the Delta, greater amount of moisture. That'll be one of the things that increases, again, that severe weather threat a little bit more for tomorrow. High temperatures by afternoon, somewhere around the 90-degree point. We go by 91 in Tupelo for Houston, 88 degrees Oxford, 89 Water Valley. And when you looked at the heat index values, it does add a couple degrees to this for tomorrow in the afternoon because of that moisture that then will fuel thunderstorms. So let's talk about thunderstorms. So we're looking 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning, not much out there. I go wider again because part of what we will have depends on what is still going on out here in the morning on Tuesday. That front with storms kind of running a little bit ahead of it there, still back there toward the west of us at noontime and keeping the majority of activity until 2 to 3 o'clock. Maybe some chances back out in the Delta. So that's kind of the main hurrah is when that arrives. But I expect that probably starts running out of fuel before it gets here, which is why one of the interesting things as we watch this out here, you'll notice that between 2 to 3 o'clock, we start to see a little bit more red right up there toward Oxford and Memphis with a few individual thunderstorms popping up ahead. I don't think we have a ton of shear to work off of to keep these organized, but this is where we could have perhaps some hail on these as they get going. Now, the main line, again, still back west of us at that point. And that's, again, where we have, I think, better organization for thunderstorms. But these storms that get going in advance, some hail, some wind, a possibility. We're looking at 4 to 5 o'clock. That main line still solidly back out into Arkansas. These are the storms up in Kansas now that will eventually get here. Not the specific storms, but they'll be driven by the same factor, that same front, and kind of still somewhat aligned by that point in time. 5:30, 6 o'clock, though, as it kind of narrow back in here across North Mississippi. What you'll note is, again, these remain very widely scattered. A lot of us missing out on this initial batch of storms that, again, could have a limited chance for some large hailstones, perhaps damaging wind gusts. When we look at this severe weather risk for your Tuesday, for most of us, this is a level 1 out of 5 severe weather risk, indicating a limited number of reports. There will be more reports of damage in whatever fashion, large hail damaging winds, back out into Arkansas than what we have here into Mississippi for tomorrow. As these storms are largely kind of running out of fuel as they move in. And so to emphasize this one more time, there is no tornado risk out of what we're looking at for tomorrow. I don't think we have enough low-level moisture to get the bases of the thunderstorm low enough to produce that. Now, these are still going to, in some cases, have a little bit of rotation with them, and that enhances hail potential. We're showing 7 p.m. here, and some from Bruce, back there toward Winona, also around Tupelo. A little bit heavier hail, wind, main factors we would expect out of this here. Looking by 8 o'clock or so, again, still pretty heavy. We show those darkest reds there, so heavy rainfall. But notice here, watch from Olive Branch, this line back here stretching toward Greenville. Notice how that, as it works eastward, continues to still stay fairly heavy through around 9 o'clock, but by 10 o'clock or so starts to see just a little bit of a weakening there, especially on the north end. You see more gaps in between these individual thunderstorms there. As we go toward around midnight or so, north end weakening, south end still just a little stronger down here, Winona toward around Chula. Once we head toward around 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. A lot of that is going through a significant weakening phase. Still a couple down here closer to Jackson, closer to Forest, and down closer to Carthage, maybe a little bit heavier. But even by, say, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, by early Wednesday, that is all done. So let's fuel. Fuel is what fuels thunderstorms. We call it CAPE behind the scenes. And so I'd say fairly ample fuel for thunderstorm development on Tuesday, tomorrow. Notice as you look eastward, though, how we have more of these reds showing up. That means the fuel is more limited. And even into the late evening time period, as storms work their way eastward, they're going to have less and less fuel to work off of here. So as we show this, you'll notice how, again, the thunderstorms back west, clearly where that front is, using up a lot of that fuel. But ahead of it, I think there's just enough out there to possibly get a few heavy, strong thunderstorms to develop in the afternoon. By evening, though, as this line kind of rolls eastward, notice how we have a lot less of the yellows showing up and more of, say, the oranges and the reds indicating more limited amounts of fuel. So I think as storms work east, they just have less and less to work off of. And as we head into overnight hours, that leaves it where there's not much out there. Now, we will replenish to a certain extent on Wednesday. And that's one of the things that's interesting about this forecast, because our front starts to stall out pretty close to us. We'll continue to have rain chances into a large chunk of this upcoming week. So Wednesday starting off with those temperatures somewhere in the low 70s in Clarksdale, Belzona about 72, 69 there in Grenada, 68 Tupelo. Again, with that front moving in, it's a little less warm than it will be for tomorrow morning, will be for Tuesday morning. So by Wednesday, a little less warm. And then with this front still sort of around here, Wednesday, 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, some thunderstorms again developing on Wednesday. Here's one of the interesting things about this. We don't have an official severe weather risk for Wednesday. We're not going to be talking about a tornado risk unless something really changes on this. But from time to time, if there's enough of that instability, that fuel, you're going to pop some heavy thunderstorms. You're going to, as they collapse, kick out some strong winds, some large hail potentially. So this is not a high likelihood for severe weather, but this is a scenario where we do tend to get a few stronger thunderstorms to develop. And you can see Wednesday afternoon, mainly heavy rainfall. Let's be clear, that's mainly what this is. But 1 or 2 producing hail or wind, certainly a possibility out of this. We're going 4:35, 6:30 or so. Most of that activity diminishing a little bit into the evening. So looking at temperatures here, again, for Wednesday, a little bit cooler. Again, not a dramatic cool down, but considering near 90 today or around 90 and a little above that in some spots, and the 90s again tomorrow, yeah, this is a bit cooler for a lot of us. I mean, Aliceville, you're still at 89, so it's not a lot cooler there. 88 Macon, but lower 80s in the northwest part of the state. And with this front largely parked overhead, rather than get attached to exact locations, just know this. When a front like this is overhead, and this is May, we've got plenty of moisture coming out of the Gulf. This will continue to ignite with rain chances probably for Thursday, the Friday, probably into this upcoming weekend. So the chances, the timing on that, something we will adjust accordingly as we get closer. But notice the coverage of rainfall, we feel fairly well locked in on. We're 40% on that rain coverage for your Tuesday, late in the day in particular for tomorrow that we're looking at that chance. Could have some hail, could have some strong winds. Western part of the state, most likely time period to see that. No tornado threat. Wednesday, most storms will not be severe, but there's going to be a greater quantity of storms. And with that front around Thursday, to a certain extent Friday, rain chances continue beyond that in the extended forecast. And we're going to continue to have, I think, quite a few showers and thunderstorms throughout the better part of the next week, which is obviously a dramatic transition from where we were last week. Just the overall pattern here with that front stalled out, plenty of moisture out of the Gulf. That's almost always a setup where we see a heavier rainfall figuring in with this. So certainly expecting that to be the case, so plan accordingly due to that. Now, I want to pop up our chat here again for folks behind the scenes. Hey, nice to see everyone there checking in with us here, and appreciate everybody for all of your kind words here. Please make the screen bigger. Have bad eyes, please. Well, the best way to make it bigger, so there's a couple ways. First off, if you are watching us on, say, Roku, Apple TV, or Fire TV, you can, obviously, the big screen's maybe the best way to do that. You can screencast. So one of the problems on the phone is that if you screencast just the video that pops up off the top, sometimes it goes cockeyed if you're trying to put that on the screen. So what you can do is you can, in the app, there's a place in there toward the top. Once I let it load, if you hit the 3 bars on the left, you can click Recent Live Broadcasts. And believe it or not, that will actually pop up with all the recent ones. But if you hit that little red circle where it says live, the screen. So what you can hear me there. In the app, we'll try not to loop that up. But anyway, so you can pull it up right like that, and then you can screencast that, and it will go the correct direction. So those are your options. Honestly, though, if you're looking on your smart TV, the easiest way to probably do it is just search for Mississippi Live on whatever platform your smart TV works off of. You can also just search for that, and it'll a lot of times pull up YouTube. So that's probably the easiest way to do that. And for all the folks out there on Facebook and watching us on the various social medias, recommend, of course, you download the app there for our Android and iOS devices. And I keep mentioning Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV. So many of you have done that. We appreciate all of you for your support of us in that way. Our next live broadcast is going to be coming up here in just under I guess we're a little bit more than a half an hour here away from that. Our meteorologist Gabe Maynor and myself will be looking at Storm Finder at the severe weather chances for the next couple of days. We'll be breaking that down and looking at rainfall totals over the course of this week. We'll be breaking down some of how much you could end up seeing on that and when and how that times out. Hopefully, we'll also be able to get a couple of the videos of folks as they departed today for state. Of course, we're watching that for our Mississippi Live Game of the Week presented by Casey Lott. All of our teams from up here are our Game of the Week because state is obviously the biggest that you run into over the course of the year. Anyway, all that's coming up during our 6 o'clock broadcast. We hope to see you then. Thank you so much for supporting us here on Mississippi Live.